Hey everybody, I'm Ebony. This is Ebonee's Creativity. Thank you so much for joining me here on my channel. Today I have for you an antique buffet flip, and I got this piece for free off Facebook Marketplace. I do have a video about how you too can get free furniture if you're looking to start flipping or for your own personal use, so I will link that video in an iCard as well as put a link in the description box below. You can let me know how you think it turned out in the comment section below. I am not a professional at whitewashing, blackwashing, dry brushing, but I am trying to get better with those techniques and blending too. So I just decided to go for it in this video. Like I said, leave me a comment and let me know how you think it turned out. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for being here with me. Thank you to all the new subscribers that I just recently got, and thank you so much to those of you who have offered me your continued support. I really appreciate it. Okay, now I'm done blabbing. Let's hop right into the flip. So here's the piece that we are going to be working on today. I did find the maker's mark, and it is from the Haskellite Company. November 18th, 1918 is its manufacture date, so this is an antique. At a distance, this looks like it's in much better shape than what we will come to find out, but just stick around and you'll see what I mean. The bottom part is pretty good, but the top has a lot of scratches and areas that we are going to have to address. And when I scroll around to the front, two of the drawer pulls are missing as well. But the inside of the drawers are really beautiful. I'm going to go ahead and start sanding with some 120 grit sandpaper, and then I'll follow the 120 up with 220 just to kind of smooth everything out. This finish came off really easily, so I was very happy about that. And actually I was surprised that it wasn't more damaged on the top than it was, because this finish wasn't really in good condition anymore. So as I said before, far away this looked really nice, but up close you can see that one is very, very dirty, and two, the finish is just like crumbling. So I'm gonna have to get all of that finish off. Also, there's a lot of scratches on the surface. I think this was just not cared for anymore or not loved. It's over 100 years old, so I can see why, but you know, there's areas where it's chipping and flaking, and I'm just gonna try to bring it to a nicer look, but also keeping true to its original design. So if you paid attention in the earlier clips, it has kind of like ombre. There's different tones coming out, and I'm going to try to highlight that with my finish. But I'm going to go ahead and get started sanding this. So I'm just using a sanding block, a 220 grit paper, because I'm trying not to kick up so much dust since I had brought this inside thinking I was closer to final prep than I was. But you can see it's just flaking off, and it came off pretty easily, but there was also deep scratches on the side, and you know, it just needed a lot of sanding, so I went ahead and did that. And after I did my sanding, I went ahead and cleaned. One thing about this piece is that the more that I cleaned it and wiped it, which took hours, and the more that I became more familiar with it and shined it up and made it new again, it just kept giving me more and more beautiful, beautiful wood tones. So this piece was really quite a treasure. Speaking of treasures, as I was cleaning, you can see that I found something kind of tucked in the back corner of this, and it was this gold bracelet. So like I said, I got this for free off Facebook Marketplace. I did decide to contact the guy who gave it to me because he was a really nice older gentleman, and he helped me load and everything. And he also gave me another piece of free furniture, so I wanted to return this to him. But like I was saying, this piece was just really rich in textures and tones and colors. And so I wanted to make sure that I did not mask that. My goal was to highlight as much of that as I could. To be honest, when I first got this, I had the idea to paint it completely. But then once all of these colors started popping out, and as I started to clean and sand and just get more and more tones and colors, I just didn't want to paint it. I couldn't do it. So I just decided to do a wash, as you will see coming up. But here's just some more footage of me kind of showing you what I'm talking about. Every time you finish sanding and add some moisture to it, look at how beautifully it just shines up. Like, you can't paint over this. So we're finally at the end of the cleaning, and just look at how dirty this water is. And this water has been changed about 6 times. So just see how much gunk came off here. But I'm very happy with how it cleaned up. It is just really a beautiful piece of furniture. So my original plan was to paint this baby blue, but I just decided I couldn't do it. So I started pulling out hardware, trying to get inspiration. I went down the Pinterest rabbit hole trying to get inspiration, and I saw this piece and it intrigued me. I don't know why, but it made me stop scrolling. So then I started thinking to myself, like, I never really do anything kind of more moody and masculine. So I think that's the direction that I'll take for this. My last few pieces are all light colors or for women or for children. So I'm going to go ahead and go moody and dark. But I did not want to cover up all the beautiful tones, like I said before. So then I just started playing with these hardware, thinking about what I could do. So I decided that these are the winner, but as you can see, they are not in the best shape. So I did put them in my bucket with some Dawn, and I just scrubbed. This is only Dawn in this water. After I gave them a good surface cleaning, I put them in some white vinegar just to kind of help continue the cleaning process and to start to lift some of the rust. So I'm going to let them soak in the vinegar for about 30 or 45 minutes and switch gears in the meantime. You guys are going to think I'm a little bit cray cray, but I'm just really cheap and I like to use everything. So when I realized that I needed a dowel, I went ahead and cut off a piece of this foam brush from the Dollar Tree that I'm not using any longer to use its wooden end as my dowel. So I needed to cut off 2 pieces with my hacksaw. Can anybody guess what I'm doing this for? In case you couldn't guess, I'm using this as a way to fill in the holes where the hardware once was. So I'm going to put a little dab of my wood glue and just stick this dowel in the hole. That way I don't have to try to put wood filler all down in that hole because I ran out of quickwood, which is my preferred filler. But I went ahead and did my scuff sand, and I did just kind of want to reinforce. If I were a professional refinisher, I would have had a tool that would have helped me cut while the dowel was in place, and then it would have been perfect, but I didn't feel like going through all of that. So I'm just going to put a little bit of wood filler over it just to kind of help mask the hole a little bit. And while I was sanding, I noticed that there was a ton of glue. I think the previous owner had the knob fall out, and so he tried to secure it with glue, and there was just a ton of glue around the hole. So that made kind of more spaces that I needed to fill in with this wood filler. Another thing I noticed while I was getting more familiar with this piece is that it was missing a trim piece on the opposing drawer. So I just popped it off of this one as well, just so that they would match. And then I sanded down all that glue that was underneath that area as well. I did all that while I was waiting on my hardware to do its thing in the vinegar. So then I came back with this boiling water and baking soda mixture, and I kind of made it into a paste. And I'm just going to use that to continue to shine up the hardware. I'm just using an old toothbrush, and I am going to be just scrubbing with that. If you don't have an old toothbrush, steel wool will also work, as well as waterproof sandpaper. And my goal with this was not to get all of that finish off. I do like a little patina on my hardware. Plus, the finish that I decided to go for with these did not require that I shined it up all the way, but I did just want to remove any dirt, debris, and just kind of see what I was left with after I did that. So this really took no time at all, and when I was done scrubbing all of them, this is how they ended up looking. I'm going to try to get a two-toned look, so I'm using this Ultra Matte by Rust-Oleum and some gold spray paint from Ace that I really don't like and I'm trying to get rid of. And I'm just going to give this a rough coat. I'm not trying to completely cover it. I'm just doing it really lightly, really quick, really fast. This is in real time. And if you're wondering why I have the toothpicks, I saw a hack that you can keep the part that flips down up if you stick a toothpick under it, and it seemed to have worked really well. So here's how it looked after the black coat. And then once that was dry, I put a little bit of spray paint into the lid and I got me a lint-free rag. And then I just kind of used this to add a little bit of gold back into it. The rub and buff that I have is too gold of a color. I didn't think that would look good with this, so I wanted to kind of complement all the tones in the wood by kind of giving the hardware visual interest as well. So I literally just rubbed over it a little bit with the gold, and this is how they turned out. And I topped those with a glossy polyacrylic. I thought that would give it kind of a little sparkle. So I'm going to be attempting the black wash. I'm using Fusion's Coal Black. I have really not tried this before, but I'm just going with what I think is best. So I don't have a recipe. I'm just showing you what I did in this cup. That's just water. So after mixing that up, I am going in with my Klingon 045 brush. And if you are in the market for a higher end brush, this one will definitely not disappoint. I love this brush, which is why you see me using it on every single flip. I'm just brushing on, just trying to get a feel for what will happen when I rub in certain areas. I'm not sure if I made this too watery. I'm really just not sure, to be honest. I like to keep it real on my channel. And I did not understand why this paint is called Coal Black, but when I was applying it, it was looking kind of bluish purpley. And I was getting really scared. But in the dining room video, I kind of aborted this mission. And in this one, I wanted to see it through. So I just went with it. I just did a really watery light coat of the Coal Black and kind of making sure that my brush strokes look nice. And I have very limited amounts of actual skill in this area. So I am just going with my instinct. I'm going to take my lint-free cloth and I'm just going to wipe in areas that I would normally distress. I'm just going for it. So you can let me know how you think it turned out in the comments. But I'm just really experimenting. I'm trying to expand my craft. Hopefully this is a better alternative for those of you who do not like when antique furniture is painted than just covering up the whole thing, which I could have done easily. But I do like to keep my woods as natural as possible when I can. So I just decided to give this a shot. Like I said, you can leave me a comment and let me know how you think it turned out. But in the original finish, you could just really see a lot of moody dark tones, and then you have those pop of like the more light brown coppery tones. And so I just kind of tried to go with that. Where they had it dark at, I tried to put it dark, particularly around the edges, and kind of make it more light toward the center. So you see me going back in around the edges, kind of adding more depth. And I'm just really trying to blend. I started out my creative journey as a makeup artist, so you think I have a better handle on blending, but I don't know, y'all. I just wanted to try this. The inspo picture really spoke to me. The hardware went perfectly with the look, and I just wanted to try it. So I'm not mad at the results, but hopefully you guys think it turned out well as I do. But this is just my process. I can't give you a technique. I'm literally just going with my instinct and trying to follow kind of what the natural look of this had. I went at this for hours and hours, just kind of wiping on and rubbing off until I was happy with the look. So if you think this turned out well and you came here to learn a technique, I am very sorry. That's why normally I would kind of speed through some of this, but I'm just going to let it play so that you can see what I did. I feel more comfortable with distressing, which is where you just give it a solid coat and then come back in with sandpaper. But it gives a different look than whitewashing or blackwashing does. So I really want to get this technique down, and I'm just going to believe in myself and go for it. So that's my suggestion to you as well. Just believe in yourself and go for it. It's just paint. If it turns out terrible, you could always just sand it down and start it over, or just paint it all solid and go on about your business. So I'm sorry if you came here to learn a technique, but I don't have one for you. Maybe if you have some techniques, you can leave them in the comment section for me, because I'm going to try this again. But I'd like to know if any of you are furniture painters, if you have any techniques for blackwashing or whitewashing. Well, one thing I can say is that it's important to keep the paint very wet. So I have my mister here, and I'm going to wet my lint-free cloth, and I'm just going to wipe until my heart is content. But I do know from working with paint that once it starts to dry, your time to try to move it around or wipe it back is expiring. So you want to make sure that you keep it wet while you're trying to figure out exactly what it is that you're doing. And I wanted to make sure that all of these little details popped. So I really wiped back up most of the paint in those areas. So here's how it looked after that first coat dried. I'm not that unhappy with it, but I did go back and kind of play with it a little more. And I just used the same process, brushing on and wiping back. I was happy with the color variation that I was able to see popping through. And so I'm just kind of trying to show you that now. I think all in all, I did a pretty good job. Up next, I went in with this red mahogany stain by Varathane, and I just decided that this was a good color match to what the color was originally that was on the top. And I knew it would be light enough to where you could really see the different tones in that top panel. And it also would be a really good match to some of the tones in the leg part. So I just decided to go ahead and do 2 coats of this stain. I really love this color. It's really coppery and beautiful. After my 2 coats of stain, I went back to go ahead and sand down that wood filler that we did where the previous drawer pulls were. And I'm using a 220 grit sandpaper. I probably should have been using 120 because I was putting a lot of elbow grease into this. But this is how they turned out after I finished sanding. Up next, I wanted to go ahead and start my blackwash on the drawers, but I had to clean them first. So here's a tip. If you have a spare toothbrush, you can really get into the grooves, into the special detailed areas easily with that, and that will help you get it cleaned out much faster than trying to fit your finger in between all those crevices. I didn't have footage of blackwashing the drawer fronts, but I did basically the same method. I kind of just went with it. I darkened the outer areas just like how it was previously. You can kind of see in this shot how the outside areas are much darker. That's not from me sanding. It was already like that. And the lighter area was much more like coppery. So I just kind of followed the same pattern that they already had. And I wiped back on the details to kind of give it that distressed look. And then I went in with just some 220 grit sandpaper, and I just added back a little bit more of the details where I felt like they really weren't popping like they could. I just went back and lightly sanded over some of the raised detail portions to get more of a distressed look. While you're watching me do that, I just want to thank everybody who sticks around and watches my videos to the end. That really does help my channel grow. If you've made it to this point in the video and you are not yet subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That will also help my channel grow. So a lot of you tell me that you appreciate what I'm doing here, and I just want to say I appreciate you back. Kathleen, Karen, and Elaine, you guys show me so much love. So I just wanted to shout you guys out. Thank you so much for your continued support. Thank you to anybody who watches this video and subscribes. It means a lot to me. I really do appreciate the support. So please help me out in that way if you have not already. So I'm still just doing more light distressing on this piece, and I'm taking it slow, and I'm kind of doing it in a certain way and with certain specificity, because I just want to make sure that this doesn't become like distressed, overly distressed. I'm just doing it with sandpaper because I'm not 100% sure on the method to do it with the black washing technique, but I know how I want this to look, and I know that I can achieve some of that look and expose some more of the colors underneath with sandpaper. So that's what I'm doing here. So I pull my hardware back out now that it is fully dry, and I'm just measuring how far apart the holes have to be, and I'm going to mark and drill those holes. I'm going in with my Dollar Tree sponge and my water mister, as well as the Fusion Tough Coat, which is a matte poly that you wipe on. If you have trouble with the polyacrylic, try this because it's much easier to apply. Wiping on is easier, except when you have pieces that are really detailed like this, then you have to kind of go in with a smaller foam brush to get into those details. But I'm just going to be using 2 coats of this as my top coat for the black portions. For the stain portion on top, I'm going to be using this wipe-on poly in a satin finish as the topper, and that little sponge came out of a kit of sponges from Dollar Tree as well. But I really like these Dollar Tree applicators because I can just throw them out after I use them. I'm using this Howard feed-in wax on the legs because we didn't do too much to them in terms of painting or staining, and so really I just need to polish them up and make them shine. So I'm just going in with the lint-free cloth and applying this. My normal uploading day is Sunday, so this video is late because as I was editing, I realized that I forgot to put my wood conditioner before I started to do the stain, and I didn't like the way it was looking, so I went back in, sanded it all down, and then I used this wood conditioner to condition the wood, then I restained it. So now it is all done, and here are the final finished images. Thank you again for watching. If you have the time, please select another one of my videos to watch from the choices on your screen or in the description box below. Bye guys.